Yaşamı Destekleme Derneği Genel Müdürü Batur Şehirlioğlu. Avrupa Pestisit Eylem Ağı ile birlikte gerçekleştireceğimiz Belçika'da ot mücadelesi webinlerimize hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Öncelikle bir hatırlatma yapmak istiyorum. Dinlemek istediğiniz dili tercüme, interpretation bölümünden seçmeniz.
I'd like to ask you to choose the language which you prefer from the interpretation button, and we also ask you to click on the mute original audio button for a more easier access. This is only our second webinar, and sorry for any mishaps that might happen, but the technical team is standing by to help us wherever necessary. As the Buğday Foundation for Supporting Ecological Life, we had a dream of a society which is ecologically friendly with smart ecology, organic agriculture,
Kompost, arıcılık gibi pek çok faaliyet, proje yürütüyoruz. Bu sene bizim 20. yılımız. Bu bizler için
These are the activities I've been carrying out for 20 years now. It's our 20th anniversary this year. It's very significant for us, and it is a great honor for us to be a part of such a project in our 20th anniversary. And on the topics that I have just mentioned, we are carrying out communication activities as well as publishing articles. We are establishing many websites, carrying out a lot of training activities, and also carrying out lobby projects and championing certain projects. And we're also working towards a campaign with our municipalities in Turkey. And also we're working on sustainable production and consumption models. And a few years ago, we also carried out the project of herbicide and pesticide-free tables. Again, and within the scope of this campaign, we brought together more than 100 civil society organizations to ban pesticides, and we had more than 165,000 signatures collected, and we turned it into an agenda of the Turkish National Assembly for more than once, and we're continuing our efforts on this issue. But of course, there's no pesticides do not reach us only through food. Also in towns, we have products that contain pesticides, which are endangering our water sources and our ecosystems. The European Union is supporting the civil society dialogue program, as you know. We also have this project, which is supported again by EU, herbicide-free towns, and we are saying that it is possible to have pesticide and herbicide-free towns, and we want to support our municipalities in this regard to reach out to the public to make them aware of the dangers of such pesticides, as well as bring forth alternative methodologies and practices to help a transformation. Of course, there are some pioneer towns in the European Union, and we are focusing on cooperation between them and municipalities in Turkey to increase awareness. We wanted to actually take our municipalities to Europe to see the best practices in place. However, we had to choose to conduct the program as webinars instead due to the COVID conditions. Again, recently, together with the action plans in Europe, we had a webinar on mosquitoes, and today we are going to focus on some pioneer municipalities who have been focusing on herbicides as well. In Turkish, of course, we call it weeds. Sometimes it's herbicides. It's called foreign weeds. It's sort of like, you know, the fact that these weeds become foreign to nature and to the human being itself. So it's a symbol of becoming different and becoming foreign. You do not count the invasive variants. These weeds are actually endemic to the area. It's actually a consequence of the society fading away from nature, becoming foreign to nature, to changing the organic structure of the soil, as well as um, as well as the social implication of the foreign um, approach of human beings towards nature. And these weeds or these herbs have been used for centuries, actually, for the animal husbandry or other sectors as well. But we don't want to see them anymore between the paved ways or paved walks. Or we try to remove them through a mechanical or chemical or a herbicide methodologies, because the people feel that they are different and unwanted. Actually, we believe that especially vacant areas should be covered with endemic herbs and an endemic um, a home for insects and bees as well, as long as there is no hazard to health. So now I would like to thank David Wessler from Leuven City Council, as well as Joop Skyper from Meghalungen University, and Nataris Barton from Panur for their contributions to this webinar. Now I'd like to leave the word to Natalia for her speech. And please, floor is yours.
Thank you for this wonderful introduction. I hope you can all hear me well. Okay. So I wish everyone a warm welcome on behalf of Pesticide Action Network Europe organization. And I thank you for joining today's webinar, Leuven as a Pesticide-Free Town. This webinar is jointly organized by Buğday Association for Supporting Ecological Living and our organization, Europe. During this webinar, our two guests, Deputy Mayor of Leuven, David Desource, and Joop Skyper, will share with you the experiences of being a pesticide-free town, and they will share with you solutions to replace pesticides with safe and nature-friendly alternatives. At the end of this webinar, we will have a discussion and you will be able to ask questions. So my name is Natalia Svrtan and I work for Europe, the regional center of the International Pesticide Action Network here in Europe. Our organization, European branch, exists since 1987, and we work on the elimination of dependency on synthetic pesticides, and we support the replacement of these toxic chemicals with sustainable agricultural systems based on sustainable and non-harmful agricultural practices and on integrated pest management. To achieve our mission, we conduct advocacy, policy analysis, we are building networks, and we are conducting campaigns on pesticides. One of our projects is particularly this Pesticide-Free Towns Network. Pesticide-free towns are committed to replacing toxic chemicals with non-harmful practices in maintaining public spaces. So we are for now limited to public spaces, but we are hoping that this practice will inspire also private persons to phase out pesticides from their close by surrounding. For now, in pesticide-free towns, public parks and sports fields and playgrounds, public gardens and cemeteries are free from toxic residues coming from pesticide applications. Besides phasing out pesticides, another goal is to return nature back to city centers, because we feel that enriched environment, the environment that is rich with nature, with greenery, is much more attractive and much more beneficial from their citizens than sterile streets without trees, shrubberies. So we are trying to inspire citizens to first start tolerate these self-grown plants and to accept more herbaceous plants in our parks and meadows. The aim of the network of pesticide-free towns is to connect cities that ban pesticides in their public places and to create a platform for the exchange of experiences and practice and knowledge on how to maintain public places without the use of these toxic chemicals. And also to support all these towns and to inspire those towns that want to go green and want to become sustainable, but don't quite understand and have tools on how to do that. So I think that our network is being a great inspiration for many future pesticide-free towns. And this is where we can make a change. And I would like to emphasize that becoming a pesticide-free town is above all a political decision. This is where city council decides to protect the health of their citizens and the nature and the environment by giving the priority to non-harmful practices over pesticides. Cities in our network share their positive experiences on how, for example, to augment biodiversity and how this augmented biodiversity enhances the quality of life in the cities. But the cities also share some obstacles that they experienced when they become pesticide-free town. Because citizens might be confused and mistake the return of the nature to their city centers to the negligence in the maintaining of urban areas. So cities shared their experiences that the communication with citizens easily solves the problem by simply explaining this improved system and the benefits of becoming pesticide-free. They communicate on their websites by placing information panels in parks and in other ways of communication. And you can find all these positive and some obstacles on our website pesticide-free-town.info. Angela will now share the link. And you can find many good examples on this website. So last week, we welcomed a new member to our network, and that is a beautiful Italian town, Florence. So we are so happy that Florence now stands hand in hand with Lisbon and Tallinn and Zagreb and other members of our network. We are so excited to have this Italian gem among our members, and we are also very happy that citizens of Florence will have increased quality of life and they will be protected against the immediate impact of these toxic chemicals. And yeah, I want to emphasize that not only human citizens will benefit from it, but also our animal companions will be protected. Veterinarians often warn about the increased rate of allergies of cats and dogs who wander along public spaces, and they have increased rate. There is increased rate of allergies showing among this population, and since they are in direct touch with treated surfaces, they are heavily impacted by pesticide residues. So Florence is now doing a step further, and not only to phase out pesticides on public places, but by the words of Cecilia Del Rey, Councillor for the Environment for the Municipality of Florence, this is the first step toward a ban even in private spaces, and all in favor of the protection of citizens' health, nature, and the environment. So we hope that Florence will very soon become pesticide-free town in total, in both in public and private spaces. The best way to show you how it is possible to become pesticide-free town is to have the immediate witnessing from towns that actually are pesticide free. And I would like to announce our first speaker, Mr. David Desource, Deputy Mayor of Leuven. Mr. Desource studied journalism at the Catholic Hogeschool Mechelen. Before becoming deputy mayor, Mr. Desource was known for his climate activism and engagement in the North-South movement. Mr. Desource worked for NGOs like Oxfam and co-founded Klimaxi, a climate organization. From 2011 to 2018, Mr. Desource organized a yearly solidarity festival in Leuven called Wereldfest. Mr. Desource has a very broad social engagement. He was co-founder of the Center for Economic Disobedience and is a founding member of Leuven 2030. Apart from the fact that he co-wrote several books, he published one in 2017 titled Leuven in alle straten voor een stad die durft, meaning Leuven in all the streets for a city that dares. Mr. Desource was first elected as a city councillor in 2012, and since January 1st, 2019, Mr. Desource is Deputy Mayor for Mobility, Climate and Sustainability, Agriculture and Food. So now I would like to give a word to Mr. Desource. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to congratulate you with the perfect pronouncement of the Dutch titles you were mentioning. I will try to share a presentation in Zoom, so I will do it now. So I'm not sure. Do you see the presentation now? Yes. You see the presentation? Okay, very good. Good. So you already presented me, so I'm the Deputy Mayor in charge of mobility, climate and sustainability, agriculture and consumption of the city of Leuven. Little moment. Do you see the next slide now? Yeah, okay, then it's working. Good. It's always a little stress to get things done technically. So I will tell you a little bit about our city, Leuven. Leuven is a mid-sized town in the center of Belgium and in the center of Europe, with about 102,000 inhabitants and about 50,000 students. And many of these students are staying in Leuven during week time. We're situated very close to Brussels, at 20 kilometers of our capital. Since 2013, with the start of the bottom-up organization Leuven Klimaatneutraal 2030, there has been the ambition to become climate neutral by 2030. 2050, we were a little bit doing the analysis about that, but recently we were again selected as one of the 100 European climate neutral and smart cities. And so the ambition is very clear at the moment to try to become climate neutral towards 2030. However, this is a very, very big challenge, of course, to do. How are we doing this? What is our approach? We try to achieve this by activating the different actors in our city: knowledge institutions or famous university, citizens, civil society organizations, and also businesses, and working together with them with the support of our local government. So we created a network organization called today Leuven 2030, and we published a roadmap in 2019 with specific goals for 13 programs, from energy to food to climate adaptation or climate adapted public domain. And in this last program, one of the goals is to increase the biodiversity in the urban areas. And this means that as a city, we will stop using pesticides and limit the use of salt for towing. And we will activate our citizens to do the same thing, to stop using pesticides in their private environment. So that's a very clear ambition, but we took already important steps on that level. But so the DNA of our climate policy, in fact, is collaboration, a citywide collaboration of all the different actors in our city, because we realize that it is impossible to become climate neutral just as a local authority, as a municipality. We need the whole community of our city to reach this goal. Talking about pesticides, since the 1st of January of 2015, all public services have to maintain the public domain without pesticides. The use of pesticides in Flanders is limited to farmers and recognized businesses in the gardening and landscaping industry. So each local authority is obliged by the Flemish authority to stop using pesticides since January 2015. And so since then, the public domain of Leuven is pesticide-free. Streets, pavements, bike lanes, and other parts of the public domain, like burial sites, graveyards, playgrounds, etc., are maintained by smart choices in planting and construction of our public domain. We use mechanical weed control and also mowing, steam, or fire. One of the specific focuses is on burial sites, and for decennia they have been treated with pesticides to maintain clean paths and clean graves. We are currently seeing the consequences of this policy and are trying to restore biodiversity on these sites and creating awareness that these green areas are crucial in adapting to a changing climate. I have to say that these changes needs also an adaptation of the population or another attitude with the population, because, for example, if we're talking about graveyards, in a first moment, for example, people can be shocked, like, this looks completely different than it used to be. And they say, for example, the city is not maintaining in a well way the graveyards, it's not respectful because it's becoming more and more green. And then afterwards they see the difference and they see, okay, this can be very nice. And this indeed can have a good contribution to biodiversity in our city. Then there is the problem already mentioned, I think, of sport fields. Unfortunately, each year we have to ask for a permit to maintain a few grass football fields with pesticides. That's the only step as a municipality that we still have to take. Until now, we haven't found a mechanical way to maintain them properly without the use of a limited amount of pesticides. But since we set a goal for 0 pesticides by 2025, we are currently really searching for alternatives to maintain these areas. But so that's still a job we have to finish somehow. So we are not totally pesticide free. I want to be very open about this. Then something about our food strategy, because we do a lot more than maintain our public domain pesticide free. In 2018, the City Council approved the local food strategy, Food Connects, which brings a focus to sustainable, healthy and local food. It was written, this strategy, by a collective of citywide food actors. And with this strategy, we want to increase the volume and the accessibility of sustainable and healthy food. This by supporting farmers and local entrepreneurs that are working on food and sustainable practices. Pesticide-free agriculture is also a very important topic in our city. With our food strategy, Food Connects, we try to give continuous support to those who want to increase the availability of healthy and sustainable food. And for example, in 2020, we launched our first project call for sustainable agriculture. 9 hectares of city-owned land was appointed to several farmers who were willing to increase the sustainability of their farm through the use of public land. Today, of the 34 farmers in Leuven, we are a city, of course, so there are not that many farmers. Only 4 of them practice organic agriculture. But when we launched this call for sustainable, innovative agriculture projects, 6 of the 10 selected farmers were willing to farm organically. And this means that the area of organic agricultural land in Leuven increased by 5 hectares, which is an increase of 0.5%. The biggest cooperative organic farm in Leuven was founded in 2007, and it was the first community-supported agriculture in Flanders. It is located very close to a famous abbey in our city, which you see on the picture, the Park Abbey, just outside the city center. So it's very close to the city center. In recent years, it has grown from a sherry orchard to a business card for sustainable agriculture, vegetables for 350 families, milk, cheese, meat, and grains. And in the light of the cultural heritage of this abbey site, where agriculture was always active, our city chose to restore this site with farming in mind. And so since 2016, we formalized a broad collaboration between several organizations. I will not mention them because it will not tell you much, but it's several organizations to use the entire abbey site for organic farming. So this is a important city agriculture project working completely pesticide free. Then I will tell you something about the community gardens. So aside from agriculture, we promote ecological gardening in our 25 community collective gardens in and outside the city center. These are small vacant plots, usually on the public domain, that are installed as vegetable gardens. And these gardens are run by citizens, volunteers, and there is an obligation to garden according to ecological principles. Each gardener received training. There is a yearly event to exchange tips and tricks, and they are guided by compost masters. There is also systems of rainwater recuperation, so it's really sustainable. We're talking about sustainable project. And also schools and neighborhoods can still apply, and each year the number of community gardens increases. This year, we also had the first 50 private allotments, so small gardens, realized on a non-city property, where each gardener gets 30 square meters for 30 euros a year. And all the gardeners have to sign an agreement in which they promise to garden ecologically and agree to follow a training by an organization expert in sustainable, pesticide-free organic gardening. In the community gardens and the allotments, they receive compost from an organization which is producing it, EcoWerf, a big composting plant near Leuven. So we not only limit the use of pesticides, but also of artificial fertilizer and other chemicals. And then my last slide is more about private gardens. Since 2019, we collaborate with what we call the Garden Rangers. It's a team of 10 trained volunteers that go and visit private gardens, and can also be gardens on balconies. So really all type of gardens, and give advice on how to make your own garden more biodiverse and climate robust. They also teach you how to garden in a circular way and use compost to reduce the use of fertilizers and other chemicals. And since the start of this project, at least 170 people, citizens of our city, have changed the way of their garden. And currently we are organizing neighborhood safaris to increase the impact of the rangers' advice. And in this safari, a whole street or neighborhood is invited to visit each other garden to gather ideas on how to install eco-friendly gardening principles. And so that's, I think, my conclusion. My conclusion is we can do many things as a municipality to make our city pesticide free. It starts absolutely with our own responsibility as a city to maintain the public domain in a pesticide-free way, but we also try to help our farmers or citizens or gardeners, etc., to do the same thing. So we need, again, the whole citywide community to make Leuven a real pesticide-free city. So thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to end the sharing of the presentation.
Okay.
It's ending.
We can still see it.
Really?
Okay, now it's okay.
Wait.
Now we can see you. It's okay. It's ended. The sharing
It's
of the
okay?
screen. Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Desource, for this excellent presentation, and thank you for sharing the positive experiences in reaching of sustainability goals. I'm happy that you are committed to finding a solution for your football courses, and I'm sure that in next few months or years you will succeed in total phase out of pesticides in your town. And I'm sure that your example with wonderful programs for organic agriculture and collaboration with citizens and gardeners and institutions will contribute to transitioning of other not yet pesticide-free towns towards sustainable and safe maintenance of public spaces. And we are also very happy to hear about the change of mind of your citizens and about the great collaboration of city and their citizens. Thank you so much for your presentation. Before I announce our next speaker, I would like to use the opportunity to mention EU Organic Awards. This is the European Commission's action plan for the development of organic production. Angela, could you please share the screen? I would like to invite the towns to apply for this award because the increased organic farming significantly contributes to a reduction in the use of pesticides and chemical fertilizers and is therefore identified as an important contributor to achieving the objectives of the European Green Deal and its strategies from farm to fork and biodiversity strategy. To push for the increase in the share of organic farming, the European Commission developed this action plan with the premise that consumer demand for organic products should grow first before the exact action. Angela, could you share it? Yes, I sent you the link, so you can please share your screen so the participants can see where they can apply. Thank you, Angela. This award, the European Organic Award, will go to the best and most innovative organic actors who are contributing to the reduction of the negative impacts of agriculture on the environment and the climate, and to achievement of EU biodiversity. So yeah, this is the web page where you can find more information and where you can apply for this award. This year, the first award will be received. So the plan has 7 categories, and the one I would like to mention is the best organic city. This is the one that might be interesting to you. And this award is organized by the European Committee of the Regions. It will evaluate cities' efforts to minimize the environmental impact and the impacts on climate change. The application is actually very easy. It can be done within 30 minutes. And I encourage you to consider the application. It will be beneficial for the promotion of your town, but also for the program to develop with every new entry and every new information provided by the cities. So applicants must be legal or natural person, in this case, of course, legal person, and it need to be resident of one of 27 member states of the European Union. So please be quick in your decision and in application, because the window closes on 8 June. So talk to your counselors and please see if you would like to submit the application before that date. And you can also share the information with us, because we think it will be very nice to have Pesticide-Free Town applicant for this organic award. So now I would like to announce our next speaker. This is Mr. Job Spijkers, a senior researcher from Wageningen University. Mr. Spijkers' research focus lies on the management of urban spaces, forest and nature, and how the professional management of these spaces can contribute to greener living environments and to tackling of climate changes. Mr. Spijkers works with the municipalities, companies in the green sector, and with NGOs, also with the aim to targeting citizens and raising awareness about these topics. So I give the floor now to Mr. Spijkers to tell us more about his research.
Good Nadine, good morning, goedemorgen. Is it okay als ik mijn presentatie in het Nederlands hou?
Is it okay if I do my presentation Dutch?
I will share the presentation.
Okay, I will.
This is okay. Thank you.
So, het thema is steden zonder gebruik van
This is cities without pesticides.
Kans om
it's also a chance to give more space to the nature and all other functions.
Beter te maken.
Is actually to make it better, to make it better cities.
En zoals gezegd, ik werk bij
And just as I said, I work at the
onderdeel
Wageningen University. I'm doing the research.
En dat mag ik al sinds
begin
jaren 90.
Doing these researches around since the 90s, from the last century. I have a big number of projects.
Ik ben onder andere projectleider
I
van
am also a project leader of a learning project of the city
efficiënt en ook gericht
to be more efficient. And
daarnaast ben ik sinds een tiental jaar.
And besides this, I have been doing I've been like a coordinator for 10 years in research and green and how I can contribute to greener cities.
Hele belangrijke projecten
and very important cities projects I'm doing in Nijmegen
vervuiling zonder chemische bestrijdingsmiddelen.
doing more green without using pesticides.
daar werk ik niet meer aan sinds 10 jaar.
And I've been working on this about 10 years, and this is because
van is.
we needed more information.
Sportvelden.
And the one thing was for the sports areas, and what I think is very nice to hear from Leuven, that how you can also focus the citizens to have more green in their gardens without using pesticides too much. Other topics,
hoe kan je zeg
how
maar
can
de
you
restanten die bij het groenbeheer vrijkomen, maaisels, hoe kan je
achieve
daar
more green?
grondstoffen van maken?
What kind of
En hoe kan je zorgen dat
materials you can
met groen
use, and how can you
het
contribute
klimaat
to have more green in your cities, and how you can adjust
andere
your
projecten,
farming to
duurzaam
this.
hout
Other projects like
circulaire
sustainable
terrein, die hebben we net al over gehad.
management
Wat interessant ook nog is,
of
is ik ben
wood, and especially on
medeoprichter en lid
the
van de werkgroep Steenbreek. Dat is een netwerk in Nederland
Steenbreek I'm a member of the
circa
working group
160
Steenbreek.
gemeenten,
We have about
waterschappen,
160
provincies.
municipalities, the
En
waterschap
die richten zich met
provinces,
name op de particuliere
and they are
tuin.
focusing
En daar is
on
het
working
eerste
in their
thema
garden.
zorgen
And
dat
the
de
first
tuinen
topic
groen
is
worden in
here
plaats van
to see that the cities are becoming more green, and
daarbij gaat het natuurlijk ook om hoe richt je de tuin dan zo weer.
there's also
op de
going
bijdrage
on
biodiversiteit.
farming without pesticides.
Ik begin met een inleiding.
I'm going to do an introduction.
Hoe
I'm
belangrijk
going to
het
talk
belang
about
van
how important it is to
gebruik
have
van
city greens, green
bestrijdingsmiddelen
cities,
in
the
Nederland.
use of pesticides in the Netherlands.
Zal ik ook wat laten zien over
And I'm going to show you a few things about the management, management and methods, the management methods, how we can do this more efficiently without using any pesticides.
Ja, als je kijkt naar de
If you
aarde,
look at the earth, we have actually originally
overal natuurlandschappen.
everywhere
Dit zijn
nature
plaatjes
landscapes,
hoe Nederland
and these are pictures of how the
eruit zou hebben
Netherlands
gezien
would have
toen er de
looked like
mensen waren.
if the people were not that
Dat is
populated.
eigenlijk omgevormd
But this is the
door het
unshaped.
met landbouwkundig
It was reshaped by the
overgebruik
use of the
dat je
nature,
rechtsboven ziet
or maybe the excessive
in
use of this
half natuurlijke
landscapes,
landschappen.
of
En de mens
the
heeft
semi-natural
overal
landscapes.
zijn voetafdruk in het
And we
in het
see the
landbouwgebied.
footprint of the
Dat
human
zie je
beings in the
de
landscapes.
heideterreinen,
There we see the
stuifzanden,
heather terrain, we
ook
see
grote aantallen
sands,
weilanden,
and
of
also
rechtsonder deze
meadows.
bos aanplant.
We see
Dat
the
zijn
forests which are being
landschappen die
afforested.
alleen
These are landscapes that are
zijn
only
ontstaan door het menselijk gebruik.
developed by human use.
Vanaf
And here we
de
see
middeleeuwen zijn ook
from
zeg maar de urbane
from medieval
landschappen
times,
eigenlijk ontstaan. Toen mensen ook in de lage landen
as the people in the lowlands were
en dat waren eerst
started to live more
landschappen met maar
concentrately.
heel weinig
So the first
plaats
there was
voor groen.
very few
Als je nu dit
places for
plaatje
green.
kijkt, dan
When
zie
you
je
look at
her en
this
der een
picture,
paar
you see
boompjes.
just here and there a
Niet
few
in
trees,
middeleeuwen,
maybe.
in Nederland,
But
maar
in the Netherlands,
een
the
voorbeeld
medieval
van
times.
het zuidelijke land.
So this is the Sutherland, example from the Sutherland.
Daar
here we
is al
see
in de middeleeuwen ook
in the medieval times
al
already
sprake geweest van vergroening. In
greenery, becoming more green.
in Lucca,
In Guidici, in Lucca, is
in
a
het
place
mooie Toscane in Italië.
in Toscane, in Tuscany in Italy.
Bomen op een gebouw.
Trees
En
on
dat
top of the
niet
buildings.
helemaal zeker. De toren dateert van de
I'm
13e
sure
eeuw.
this
Maar de
comes from the
vergroening
13th century, where
al in de 15e eeuw,
in the green area, well, the green areas in
Als
the
je kijkt
Flemish
naar
parts, we have seen that in the medieval times
dan
they have
is vergroening in
started
steden
to
een
have
later
less
thema.
trees.
Je had soms
And
wel
this is a later
ook
theme
wel groene
in
terreinen.
in the Netherlands. There are greener
Adellijke lieden
areas.
woonden. Maar dit is een plaatje van
This is a picture
Schiedam,
of
toevallig mijn
Schiedam.
geboortestad.
This is the place I was born, city I was born.
Waar het
It
eerste
is the
publieke
Rotterdam and the Netherlands, the
stadspark, de
first
plantage, is opgericht. En dat
city plantages
van de 17e eeuw.
are being developed from the 17th century. So we're going back that far.
Het openbaar groen.
So the public green in this Dutch
Als je nu
area.
kijkt naar
As we look, if you look now at
hoeveel mensen zijn er op de aarde,
how many
bij
people
wonen,
there
zie
are
je
living
dat
on the
prognose
planet,
is dat de dierenbevolking
we see that the
nog stijgt
population
naar
is
9
still growing
miljard inwoners
to
rond
9
2050.
billion people
Wat heel erg
by
opvalt,
2050. And what is very striking is that the percentage in the city areas
stijgend is. En
is still in the urban environment is still rising, and it's going to increase even more. So in the US, for example, well, no, according to the UN,
de mensen.
This can be maybe an increase of 70% by 70%, and therefore it is well the demand for green areas is getting bigger and bigger. And if you look at the importance of green in the city, urban green, we see that it's going bad actually. So in terms of biodiversity and in terms of well-being, it's going about health. So green areas are, when there's more green, then there's less health complaints. So this comes because of your outdoor recreation. And besides this, so in this climate change times now, we see that it's very important how the water system is being managed, and also the urban climate is very important. And besides this, there's also many economical talks about this green. For example, if you have, for example, a green roof, it's very efficient. Also, if you look at the price of the houses, which was the case in the Netherlands and other countries, we see that there's a positive effect on the price of the houses. So if you have greener sites, it impacts also the price of the houses. And here we can see a good example on how we can work on the city. A bee hotel. Let's say it's an average city in the Netherlands.
Voorbije insecten kunnen groene daken prima plek
green
zijn.
Roofs.
Voedsel te vinden en
for the food and to have this way to be able to survive this way.
En je hebt natuurlijk ook een
and here we have also a number of specific species which are only
in de lage landen
in the lowlands in the Netherlands. And this swallow is an example for this. It's a bird that
nodig heeft om
is more in the rocks to sleep. So we also have this falk, which you see on the right upper hand. The buildings are very good settlement places for these. We also see that some species like this falk parket are also settled in cities. You can see this. If you look at the
de mogelijkheden
possibilities to appear to be on the floor, on the ground. There's lots of vegetation.
Eigen biodiversiteitswaarde, maar is ook heel belangrijk voor insecten, voor vlinders, voor bijen.
And we see that the problem is
voor andere kleine organismen.
For other little organisms to be there as well.
Een beetje aan de basis. Je hebt daar gezonde bodem onder met
so a healthy soil on the bottom is a good feed for the birds.
Een klein ecosysteem in de stad op die manier creëert. En als je dat als een netwerk
this little hemisphere is being created. And if you have a lot of roofs, then this is a big value for them.
Hier zie je
Here we see
het belang van
the importance of green for the water system.
Als je hier goed
if
kijkt,
you
zie je dat
look
elke druppel
closely,
die
you see that every drop of rain that falls on the roof or on the road, it doesn't go to the sewage system, it goes to the green. And there's this a swale is being put there.
Die zorgt ervoor dat het water kan infiltreren naar de
bodem. So that the water can infiltrate to the bottom. And then we have more green surface. And if there's a heavy rainfall, then like 100 milliliter per day, then there's another option that the water can still go to the sewage system.
Door het goed zo aan te leggen,
as we are putting the green like this in the city, and there are many researchers being done, you can save your water and your sewage system, which needs to be evacuated, and you have underground storage. This is actually more expensive, but if you combine this with the green, then this is cheaper, and all the other functions of the green, this will be more effective. Here you see the longer irrigation system. This is a very big city or a big village in the north of the Netherlands.
Daar hebben ze zeg maar
And there
het
is
watersysteem in de wijk.
the water
Hebben ze
system
ook voorzien van
is also provided with
een hele fietsfilter,
reed
zodat het water ook
vegetation.
gereinigd wordt.
And the water is
de
also being
waterkwaliteit op orde is.
purified with this
En dan
reed.
hoef je zeg maar
And then you
het
don't
is
need to.
regenwater dat daar valt.
This is rainwater that is falling there.
Dat vuil wordt meegenomen, maar toch
And the
gereinigd.
fields are
Eigenlijk door gebruik te maken van de
taken.
kwaliteiten.
So you use the quality here as well, of course.
En als je kijkt op het
And when
effect
we look
op
at the effect
het
on
welbevinden en
the
gezondheid. Dit zijn twee
these are two
straten in Utrecht. Vrij grote stad.
streets in Utrecht, which is a big city in the north of the
Netherlands.
Netherlands.
Zie je
On the left side you see
echt
a street.
Enig groen.
There's really no green at all in the street.
En mensen,
It looks,
als je dus naar onderzoeken kijkt,
when you look at the
hoe
researchers
mensen
there,
voelen,
how
zoals
people
van
feel
depressief
there,
klachten en een aantal andere bijvoorbeeld aandoeningen, dan is het voor
so
de
they
mensen
have other health
links
problems, of
echt
course. So left and right,
gesteld dan die mensen rechts in de straat.
you
En het
see
grappige,
on the right hand
rechts in de
side,
straat, dat is
what
eigenlijk
is
een
funny,
ontwikkeling dat je in Nederland
this is
ziet
actually
sinds
a development in the Netherlands, which you can see
45 jaar, sinds midden jaren 70. Het is de ontwikkeling naar geveltuintjes.
So this was like a small curbside gardens.
Aangelegd om
So
onderhouden.
citizens are putting them themselves. So on their own doorstep.
Het is
and
heel
they are allowed to do
grappig
this.
hoe dat
It's very funny how
het begin is ontstaan.
how this started. So it
Die dit echt
started.
wouden. En de gemeente wou het toen niet.
And the municipality wanted to.
Die stelde zich heel formeel op in de beheer.
Was very formal on the management. So the first curbside gardens
die langskwam om de zaak weer te verwijderen.
Was they actually the municipality wanted to remove this, but thankfully they have
40 jaar geleden
discussed this, and maybe 40 years ago the municipality of Utrecht was very busy to promote people to install these little gardens, because this actually makes the cities more beautiful, and the citizens are more happy to live there, are happier to live there. And therefore, this is seen that this is actually coming back because the health of the people is getting better, they feel better.
Het is natuurlijk onomstreden, dus dat groene oase.
The green oasis is very important, and not only for the
ontmoeten en elkaar zien.
To see each other, to meet each other, and to see each other.
2 weken geleden in
de
spoorzone bij Tilburg.
I was in the spoolzone in Tilburg. It is in the south of the Netherlands.
Van Leuven.
It's not too far from Leuven, and there they have.
Stad met weinig van dit soort plekken.
It was actually a city that didn't have too much of these places, so they have established new parks, and people are very happy to use these, and it really needs the needs. And you really have to care for having this kind of areas in your cities.
En voor de hitte, dan moeten we voor naar het zuiden.
Therefore, we need to go to the south. This is een
plaatje van boven. Dat
a small place. You know, it was a picture taken with Google Maps.
Een plekje waar ik op vakantie was.
I was there on holiday.
Dit was een van mijn vakantiefoto's.
And this was one of my holiday pictures.
You see that die hele dichtgroene plekken
the whole
in een warm klimaat ontzettend belangrijk zijn.
Green areas are very important.
Voedingsruimte te hebben overdag. En de ouderen maken ook gebruik van het.
The older people also use these green areas because it was actually quite a mild climate. It was cool actually. And this was painted. These Spanish older people had their own, they were wearing their jackets, and they keep coming there the whole summer.
Zeg maar
this is actually something to escape from the heat.
Van Europa steeds belangrijker.
This is very important in big cities and big places from in Europe. So when the first heat wave was there 2 years ago, more than 40 degrees in the shadow, in the shade, this means that
je dan onbeschaduwd bent, dat het gewoon gevaarlijk wordt.
When you are in the shade, that it is actually becoming careful, dangerous for these people.
Naar het gebruik van bestrijdingsmiddelen in de stedelijke omgeving, dan zie je dat er bij de nationale regering focus is geweest.
Government, there was a discussion on the quality of water.
In Nederland wordt een deel van het drinkwater uit het oppervlaktewater gewonnen. En als je in de publieke ruimte bestrijdingsmiddelen gebruikt, die spoelen dan af naar het
going to use these
oppervlaktewater.
pesticides
En dan krijg je dus een
to
probleem met je
surface
waterweg.
water, then you have a problem with your water
Als je
system.
kijkt bij de EU, dan zie je
When you look
dat
at the
er
EU,
het
you can see
Europese
that
parlement beleid ontwikkeld
at the
is.
European
En dat is
Parliament,
eigenlijk vanuit
there's also
een
management
andere
for this.
achtergrond.
And also,
Die
this has
denk
a
ik
different background. That
net zo
think
belangrijk,
that
of misschien wel
this
belangrijker
is important for
Er is
people.
vanuit de achtergrond
And from the background,
dat je
we see
eigenlijk
that
niet wil dat
what you
mensen
don't
die in
want
de
is here
stad
that people who are living in the city,
straat lopen, dat die in aanraking komen met chemische bestrijdingsmiddelen die voor het onderhoud gebruikt zouden worden.
because they are using pesticides, so,
In
which is a
Bij
problem in the
Nederlandse
sewage
gemeenten
system.
zie je dat
In Dutch
er weer
cities, you can
andere
see that
terreinen spelen. Aan de ene kant
there are other terrains, actually, other
biodiversiteit
fields.
in het stedelijk groen. Dat wordt door heel veel gemeenten gezien dat dat belangrijk is. En natuurlijk is gebruik
That
van
is very
bestrijdingsmiddelen daar een
important.
strijd mee. Aan de andere kant, het
On
plaatje
the other
dat ik net
side,
liet zien
the
van de
picture that I
gemeente
just showed
Drachten, van het
you
Morapark,
from the
dat je het water van de
city
stad houdt.
grachten,
Dat is heel
so
gek.
you keep the
Als je
city
bestrijdingsmiddelen
water. So
gebruikt,
if you're
gaat het
using
water van de stad
pesticides,
houden, dan je ook die bestrijdingsmiddelen in de stad. En dat is echt met elkaar een
this is very
tegenspraak. En niet
important
dat
because the
dan
water is going
goed
to
te zijn
the
om
groundwater, because then you get other
zo
problems
wordt er
when
dus
take
steeds verder
over.
aangekeken. En bij de steden speelt ook het risico op de menselijke gezondheid bij het
And
gebruik.
there's also a risk on the human
Er
health.
nog tal van onzekerheden zijn. En het goede nieuws in Nederland is eigenlijk dat er
thing
een
about the
behoorlijke
Netherlands is that
afname is. Dus vanaf 1990 tot 2010 is er een
this is a
stimulerend
picture of
beleid geweest.
2010. There was a city management, urban management.
Dus niet voorgeschreven
Pesticides
in
were
de
being
openbare
used,
ruimte.
and
Maar
this was
je
not
ziet
being
dat er
used.
behoorlijke reducties
We
bereikt
see that there is a
in de
big
periode dat ik
reduction. There was a big
onderzoek naar
reduction
gedaan
of these pesticides. So there
gemeenten
was
daarmee
research
te
done.
helpen.
So
Ook veel
towns were
voorlichting
helping
gegeven.
towns, and there was also
Had
training
resultaat.
was being given. And the result is
Veel
this.
mooier is dat sinds 2015
And the nice
zeg
thing is that
maar,
since 2015,
het gebruik
the use of
verder naar beneden gegaan. Omdat het toen ook wettelijk
this
geregeld
was
werd.
went down because this was being regulated by law, and all
enkele uitzonderingen
cities, also in the public
bestrijdingsmiddelen
spaces,
gebruikt werd.
the
Als je
use
naar
of
de lijn kijkt,
pesticides was
zie je
being
eigenlijk dus
reduced.
de
So
tweede rij
we see that the second
beplantingen
row
binnen
here,
de bebouwde kom,
vegetation,
al het openbaar groen, dan zie je dat van 19.000 kilo naar 100 kilo afgenomen is in 2018. En dat is eigenlijk nog
So
steeds
that
zo.
was
Dus dat is
2018. It's dramatically decreased,
bijna
which is very
verdwenen.
good, of course.
Sportvelden, daar is op dit moment nog een uitzondering voor.
And then
Dat mag nog, ik meen tot 2003 tot en met volgend jaar.
there's an
Maar ook
exception.
daar
I
zie je
think
dat
they
er heel
can
hard
continue
afgebouwd wordt.
until next year.
Dat zou ook een
But
interessant
after then, they
onderwerp kunnen
will
zijn
decrease the use of
om
pesticides as
samen
well.
te werken met
So it
met
will
de
be a good
gemeente Leuven
idea
en wellicht andere
to
gemeenten in Vlaanderen.
collaborate with
Daar
the
nog van
city
elkaar
of
te leren
Leuven,
en
for
te komen
example,
tot een verdere
and we
afbouw.
could learn from each other to further decrease the use of
nu met
pesticides.
963 kilo actieve stof.
And for example,
En
for the
bij
sports
gemeenten
fields, you see that
hoogste factor
still
was, zoals je terugkijkt,
963
in
kilograms of
92. En toen
pesticides
was
are being
het
used,
van de 3
whereas in
terreintypen
1992 we were still speaking of
de laagste.
5,000 and more
En bij
kilograms.
verhardingen,
And then the reinforcements,
en dat vind ik
the
zelf
hardenings. And for me, this is
een hele fijne.
actually a
Het was de
very
grootste
nice
categorie
figure.
in
Well, that was actually
92.
one of the biggest categories in 1992,
tot en
and
met
it decreased
2009, 2013.
slightly until 2009 and 2013, and then
2015 is het niet meer toegelaten. En je ziet
as
dus dat
from
dat ook
2015 it was no
eigenlijk
longer allowed.
vrijwel nul is,
So you see that this figure
teruggegaan door
has
alle gemeenten in Nederland
gotten
samen.
to zero, and this is
Nog
thanks to the
12 kilogram
collaboration of several towns.
12 kilo actieve stof.
So we still have 12 kilograms of active
drastisch verminderd.
substances which are
Eigenlijk op die
used still
verhardingen is ook het meeste
for those
onderzoek verricht,
hardenings.
omdat daar nog heel veel technische vernieuwingen en innovaties nodig waren. Om
So we need a lot of technical innovations to make that possible.
Bij die 12 kilo dan moet je denken aan
And as
plekken
you see, we
opslag
still
van
use 12 kilograms,
materialen waar je
but this is only for spaces where dangerous products are being stored and which need to be maintained and which cannot be maintained without using those substances. But as said, it's a very limited number.
Maar ik zal mijn presentatie daar zo nog wat over.
But later in the presentation, I will show you something about this.
Als je nu kijkt,
And then
hoe
looking
bereik je nou die
at
reducties?
how you can
Dan
accomplish
zie je
those
hier een plaatje,
reductions,
al het oude
well,
plaatje
you
uit
see a
Streek, van
picture
een
from a few
mooi
years ago
struikrozenplantsoen.
with a beautiful rose
Maar dit is
garden.
een manier van groen beheren
And this is
uit
a
de
way
grond,
of
uit
green
zwakke grond,
management,
dat heel veel werk nodig is om heel
which
bestand te
requires a lot
houden.
of work
En het was zeg
on
maar
the
in
soil.
de dagen dat bestrijdingsmiddelen nog gebruikt
And this
mochten
picture
worden bij
was
de stoffen als
taken in the
difenthrion, die
days
gelukkig
in which
niet meer zijn toegelaten. Die
pesticides were
werden
still
gebruikt en dan kon je
allowed.
zonder veel kosten kon je dat deelt in stand houden.
And without
Als je nu kijkt,
too many
dan
costs,
moet
you
de
could
gemeente,
keep
als je
those
dat
rose
soort
gardens.
type groen hebt,
Looking
die
at
op
the day
sommige plekken best wel
situation, you
waardevol en
can
mooi kunnen
see
zijn.
that
Maar
it's a
dan
whole
heb je heel veel
different
mensen
ball
nodig
game.
om
You
dat
need
in
a lot
orde
of
te
more
houden.
people to maintain those
En wat je
spaces.
eigenlijk ziet, is dat heel veel
And what you see
organisaties
is that a lot of
gaan
organizations
omvormen naar wat meer bloemrijk
are going to
terrein,
transfer
waar je
themselves
eigenlijk,
and offer more green spaces around their
ja,
companies.
om het even duur te zeggen, met een paradigma verandering.
So they
Het
have a
probleem van
paradigm
opbrengst
shift in
oplossen.
some way. They try to
Dus als
solve
je
it
op
in a
zo'n
different
manier
way.
tegen je groen aankijkt, en je
And
ziet
if you
hier
look
ook
at
een
green
aantal hele
spaces
mooie
in that
beelden,
way,
als
then
je
you
deze
can
tijden erbij doet,
make beautiful
naar
pictures, as
buiten
you can
komt, dit
see
zijn
here.
terreinen, het zijn prachtige bloemrijke terreinen.
This
En
is
dan
Heineken, the
dan
company
praat je niet meer
Heineken.
over onkruid, maar dan praat je
And we are
over
no longer talking about weeds
ja,
here. We're talking about green
prachtige, net
spaces
zoals
with
we in
beautiful
Vlaanderen
wildflowers.
zeggen bebloemingen, geloof ik. Hè? Maar dit zijn natuurlijk prachtige bloemrijke
These
terreinen waar
are
mensen
very
van
flowery
willen genieten.
terrains
En niet alleen mensen, ook
and
vlinders.
no longer considered
En je ziet in
as
Nederland is
weed.
bijvoorbeeld de Vlinderstichting is heel
In
actief.
the
Rechtsonder
Netherlands,
zie je
you
het
have a butterfly association, which is
kleurkleur
very active. They want
logo.
more flowers. They
En
have a
de
beautiful logo as
Vlinderstichting is
well, as
samen
you can
met
see
veel
on the
gemeenten
slide.
bezig om
And
ook te
we're working
regelen dat dat
together
dan
with
goed
several
beheerd
towns
wordt.
to make
En
sure
eigenlijk
that
het
these
diepgaande
butterflies
van
can land
bestrijdingsmiddelen is dan
there.
de zelfsprekendheid.
And
Het gaat dan met name om op welke manier ga je het maaien, zodat je daar een
also
positieve
the mowing
ontwikkeling krijgt.
techniques are very
Hè,
important.
want je hebt, het is noodzakelijk om op een gegeven moment het
Because,
gras af te
of
voeren. We
course,
hebben
at some point you have to
in
mow the
Nederland,
lawn.
net als in andere delen van West-Europa, hebben wij heel veel
In the
stikstofdepositie
Netherlands
uit de
and
lucht. Dat betekent dat
in other
voedingsstoffen worden
countries,
toegevoerd.
we see that
En
a
als
lot of
je
nitrogen is taken
er
from
geen
the air
beheer opvoert,
and
dan krijg je steeds
is
rijker
absorbed by
systemen
plants,
met veel brandmeters en bramen.
which
Dat zijn
means that a
ook
lot
best
of
nuttige
extra
planten, maar als
weeds
je die overal hebt, het is niet
surge.
zo'n aantrekkelijk groenbeeld. Moet is, zeg maar, wil je die bloemrijke graslanden in stand houden,
Of course, if
moet
you
je
want
zorgen dat je de
flowers,
nutriënten ook
then you
afvoert.
will
En dat
need
kan
to make
meestal
sure
met
that other
maaisystemen.
nutrients will get to the flowers as well.
En er zit ook wat innovatie in. Als je hier
And we also
rechtsonder
have
kijkt,
some
dat is
innovative
een maaimachine
techniques. For example,
met een
the bottom
afzuigsysteem. Op
right,
zo'n
we
manier
have a
is dat het
mowing
maaisel direct na het
machine.
maaien wordt opgezogen en
So
meegenomen.
as
Dat je
soon
niet
as
in één jaar
the
gaat
grass is
werken.
mown, it is sucked
Maar het apparaat
away.
is zo ingericht dat de zaadjes en de
And
insectjes niet
the
mee worden
seeds and
opgezogen.
insects
Dat
are
is een
actually
ander
not sucked
probleem
away. So
natuurlijk.
this is a very
Niet alleen
innovative
het
technique.
beheer zo doen dat de planten
So you have to
overleven,
make
maar het beheer
sure
ook zo
that
doen
the
dat de
plants
insecten
on your
levenskansen
grass
krijgen.
survive, but also the
En
insects.
hier zie je een kaart
And
van
this is
de
a
gemeente
map
Enschede.
of the town of
En die hebben dat
Enschede,
heel planmatig gedaan. Dat is
and they
nodig.
had a very
Nodig
strategic
om de eigen
approach.
dienst goed te informeren.
They
Maar heel
wanted to
veel van het
inform their
beheer
green
wordt ook
service,
uitgevoerd door
and
de
those
groene
plans are
aannemers.
also
En die moeten natuurlijk
realized
weten
by
wat ze moeten doen. Er
private
moet op een goede manier
organizations.
afgesproken worden in bestekken.
So
En
they
eigenlijk wordt er dan
collaborate.
onderscheid gemaakt in, als je hier kijkt,
And if you look at this
gebieden
map,
ingezaaid met boermengsel. Het zijn de
you
oranje gebieden.
see that in the orange
De
areas,
gebieden van slingerend maaien,
seed
of
mixtures
sinus
are
maaien,
being
dat
used,
is eigenlijk, die
and
gebieden worden zo beheerd
grass is mown
dat er een
by
grote
certain
afwisseling in
machines.
maaihoogtes is, van jaar op jaar ook, om te
And
zorgen
year
dat de
to year,
overlevingskansen van insecten ook zo groot mogelijk is, en
the
om te zorgen voor
mowing
de
height
insectenbiodiversiteit.
is differentiated as well,
Dan heb je
to
het
make sure that the
traditionele gazon,
insects
dat is er nog
survive.
best wel veel. Er wordt 20 keer per jaar gemaaid.
So
Dat is er vooral voor
those areas in green
het zicht
are
erop
mown
kijken, want er
about
zit veel minder
20
biodiversiteit in.
20
Dat is
times a
bij het
year,
middelhooggras al ietsje
and
beter.
the
Dat wordt
middle
wat
high
minder
grass,
frequent
for
gemaaid.
example, is
En het
mown
hoge
6 times
gras,
a
dat zijn ook
year,
grote
and the higher
oppervlaktes.
grass,
Donkergroen
we're
hier
talking
aan deze
about
kaart.
bigger
Dat is
surfaces as
1 of
well,
2 keer per jaar gemaaid.
are only
En
more
als je dat op een goede manier
about
doet, kan je dat ook goed
once to twice a
combineren
year.
met het
And if you
bereiken
combine
van
these techniques
mooie
with
biodiversiteit.
enriching
Dus zo
the
gaan
seeds
gemeenten
and
hier
biodiversity, you can get very beautiful
een
landscapes.
van de voorbeelden, Enschede.
So this is only one example,
in het oosten
city of
van ons
Enschede.
kleine
which
landje.
is located in the east of our small country.
Hier zie je een voorbeeld van sinusmaaien.
And this is an example of
Laat ik
sinus
alleen maar
mowing,
even de illustratie zien. Dit is
just for your
de dijk van
information.
een waterschap.
This
Waar het
is
om gaat
a
is,
dike.
wat vroeger
and
gebeurde, dan werd de hele dijk in één
In the
keer
past,
gemaakt.
actually,
En dat kan voor
green
de planten
services
kan dat prima
only
zijn.
mowed the lawns
En dat die
once.
stikstofafvoer.
But this, of
Het grote
course,
probleem is
has
alleen dat
an
je
effect
ook in één keer
on
voedsel
biodiversity.
kwijt voor de insecten die er leven. Die hebben
The
er
problem
meer,
is
er niks in de
that you
buurt, die
take away
sterven dan.
the habitats of the
En
insects,
daarnaast ook schuilplaatsen en overwinteringsplaatsen
and
voor allerlei insecten en andere kleine
insects
diertjes.
no longer have sheltering
Dat is
places.
de reden om het zo te doen. En bij
So the
sinusmaaien is
reason
de
why
gedachte
we
dat de
do
grenzen
this
die je
technique
maakt, dat je die elk jaar een
is
beetje
to make
anders
sure that the habitats can recover.
afwisselend mogelijk te houden. Nou, ik kan over het sinusmaaien een college op zich geven. Ga ik
I
niet doen.
could speak for
Maar
hours about
om
this
even als voorbeeld te zien
technique,
hoe er in
but I just wanted to
Nederland
show you this example
het beheer wat eerst
to
vooral
show you
botanisch gericht
how we
was,
do this
dat
in
we
the
nu ook
Netherlands.
proberen om het niet alleen op de bloemen te richten, maar
So
ook op de insecten die er leven.
we don't
Dus
only
beide
want to save
soortgroepen
flowers
zeg maar,
on
zoveel
those
mogelijk
lawns,
overlevingskansen te
on
bieden.
those green areas, but also the insects.
Ja, het project Gif van de Straat.
And then
Ik
the
zit even te
project
kijken
Poison of the Street.
hoeveel tijd heb ik nog.
How much
Ik
time
heb
do I
slides
have
genoeg,
left?
maar misschien
I
moet ik
have
dat
enough
kwijt
slides, but I'm
maken,
not
of
sure
zit ik
whether
nog
I
in
have
de
enough time to cover them all.
You can still talk. It is very useful for us to hear this. So please
sorry.
continue. Yes, you can still speak. It is very useful for us to have all these practical solutions. So please continue. Thank you.
Okay, I will continue. No problem. Een groot project gedraaid in het
So this
zuiden
was
van
a big
Nederland.
project in the
Het Gif van de
south of
Straat.
the Netherlands,
En dat was
Poison
vooral
of the
gericht
Street.
op de verharding.
And
hadden
this was
in
mainly
94
linked to
een groot
hardening of
probleem.
the soil, which is a big problem in the
Maas
Netherlands.
werden bestrijdingsmiddelen aangetroffen.
So we
Er werd eerst
found
gedacht dat komt van de landbouw, maar het bleek dat het uit de stad
pesticides
kwam. Met name
in
uit de gemeente Eindhoven en andere
rivers,
gemeenten.
and
De
those
verhardingen,
pesticides were
grote hoeveelheden
coming from
water en
bigger
regen
towns
kwam
close to the
direct in de
river.
Maas. En de stad Rotterdam, de
City
tweede
of
stad van het
Amsterdam.
land, met
Rotterdam, for
miljoen
example, is
inwoners,
the
die
second
dreigde
biggest
zonder
city of
drinkwater te
the
komen, dat het niet aan de normen
country
voldeed.
with 1 million
Toen
inhabitants,
is een
and we
groot project
found a lot of
gestart en hebben
pesticides in the drinking water.
samen
So we
met de
started off a big
drinkwatermaatschappij
project, and
Water,
together with
de
the
gemeente
drinking water
Eindhoven,
company
hebben wij
and the city
een
of
stappenplan gemaakt.
Eindhoven, we
En
created
daarbij ging het om. De eerste stap is eigenlijk van goh,
plan. The first step
alles wat op de
was
verhouding
to
staat,
accept.
moet dat wel bestreden worden. Kan je niet hier en daar
And
ook
to know what the scope was. Would it be possible, for example, to accept certain things and
zijn ook heel veel
maybe exclude
mogelijkheden
other
om
things?
de openbare ruimte zo in te richten
So
dat onkruidgroei
we wanted to
op
make
plekken waar
sure
je dat
that
niet wil,
public
niet makkelijk
spaces
ontstaan. En door ontwerp of door de
were designed
aanleg,
in that way
bij
that
heraanleg
you
en ook bij beheer
wouldn't have
kan
any
je daar geen
weeds on the
keuzes maken.
places you didn't want it
En
to
dan
grow,
de
and
derde en
on other places you could just
misschien wel
let it grow.
belangrijkste stap is, als je dan
So
nog
that was the
beheert,
second step,
dan moet je ook
prevention.
technieken
And of
ontwikkelen
course,
dat je dat niet
if you
chemisch doet
do
en
green
niet
management,
meer
third step,
in de
you
grond
need
laat glyfosaat
non-chemical weed controls.
stappen naar dat soort middelen. En dat
You
is
have
zoals je
to
uit de eerdere grafieken gezien
use
hebt,
certain types of seeds, for example.
behoorlijk geslaagd onderzoek.
And as you saw in the results before, this collaboration was very successful in the Netherlands. We made sure that, for example, the use of pesticides on hardened soil was reduced. Here you can see an image from the 90s, the beautiful town of Amsterdam. Maybe this is not a very touristic area, but you see that the hardening and the pavement was installed in such a way that the town didn't want to use any chemicals, but of course the problem is that you have weeds then, and it doesn't look very attractive anymore. So some weird choices were made. So you see the tiles and the pavement full of weeds.
Over de maatvoering van de verharding en over de hoeveelheid. Je ziet ook ontzettend veel paaltjes en daaromheen.
A lot of poles, and around those poles you see weeds, which doesn't make the image very attractive. So this is an image that is not appreciated by many people. And this is a totally different image now. This is an area which was constructed and managed
hoeveelheid
not with
verharding
pesticides,
relatief teruggedrongen
but
is.
with
Er
several
is her en der
mechanical
wat
techniques. So
grotere
you see
tegels
a
gekomen
lot
als je
less
links
weeds.
kijkt
You
en met
see
small
nice
strookjes,
green
zodat
lawns
als er
alongside the
dat
street.
mensen daar overheen wandelen, dat je
And
minder voeglengte hebt omdat de tegels wat groter zijn. Je ziet dat
the
gekozen is voor een
tiles, the
smalle rijbaan.
pavement is a little
Dan zie je,
bit
als je goed
bigger as
kijkt, zie je
well.
rechts
And if you
zie
look
je
well to the right,
een halfverharding. Daar kunnen mensen een auto
you see
opzetten, maar er mag
semi-hardened
gas doorheen
soil
groeien.
on
Dat is
which
geen probleem.
cars can be
Dit is een
parked.
beeld dat veel makkelijker te handhaven is.
So
En
this
waar
is a lot
eigenlijk
easier to manage
onkruid niet zo makkelijk een kans krijgt
because the
als
weeds
in het
don't get a
vorige
chance to
plaatje.
grow as, for example, in this image.
Daarnaast zie je dat er ontzettend
Apart
veel
from that,
onderhoudsmethoden ontwikkeld
there's a
zijn
lot
de
of
laatste jaren
different
voor het
management methods which have been
beheer.
developed in the
Op
past
plekken,
years.
als er toch nog plekken onkruid komt, hoe je dat dan onder
If
controle kan
you're
houden.
facing weeds, then you
En
can
de meest
still
oude
maintain them under
methodes waar we in
control.
de jaren 90 in
So
Nederland mee
a
begonnen,
number
dat
of
zijn borstelmachines die
methods
je
were
linksboven
developed
ziet.
in the 90s
En
with
de
brushes
onkruidsbrander die je
and
linksonder
the
ziet.
weed burner on
En
the
eigenlijk zijn nieuwe
left
methodes
top,
ontwikkeld.
on the left bottom is
En
another
rechts
method.
zie je
On the right, you can
boven
see
zie je hete lucht
a hot
apparaat.
air
Werkt niet met
machine.
een vlam, maar met hete lucht. En
So it's not with an open
rechtsonder
flame, but
zie je
with
een
heat that the weeds are
apparaat.
being
En eigenlijk zie
destroyed.
je dat de
And
meeste
on the bottom right, you see another technique
aannemers, vaak
with
wordt dit werk
steam.
uitgevoerd door aannemers, niet meer door de gemeente zelf.
And
Dat die
those
gebruik
projects are
maken van
often
een
done by
combinatie
constructors and no
apparaten.
longer by
Wat we net
the
hoorden van
towns
de wethouder
themselves.
van Leuven, zie je dat er ook nog wel eens her en der wat wordt bijgewerkt met een bosmaaier.
And of course,
Soms
you
ook
can
heel
use
klein
all
handbrandertje.
other
Vaak wordt met
techniques
een
as well,
combinatie
smaller
gewerkt.
techniques with
Het
smaller mown
moet wel
laws,
gezegd worden,
mown
kosten per
lawns.
vierkante meter zijn wat hoger dan vroeger met gebruik van bestrijdingsmiddelen. Maar het is puur als je kijkt naar de beheerkosten.
If
En
you
dat
look
het
at the
vervelende van
management costs,
bestrijdingsmiddelen veroorzaken schade aan de biodiversiteit en aan de
in the past,
waterkwaliteit.
pesticides used
Die andere kosten met zich
to have a
meebrengen.
big impact on
Dat staat niet op de rekening,
biodiversity.
zeg maar. Maar goed, dat doen we gelukkig
And
niet
there was a
meer.
big cost linked as well because
En
of what
eigenlijk
I
de
said
grote
before
manier
on
om
the surface
deze
waters.
kosten in de hand te houden is
And
te
this
zorgen
way we
dat ik op de vorige
try
plaatje
to
zie,
fight
dat
against
je
those
geleidelijk
weeds
het
with
ontwerp van de
mechanical
openruimte zo maakt dat het onkruid op veel
techniques.
minder plaatsen een probleem vormt. Dan kan je op die plaatsen nog met
So we
moderne
use
methodes kan je
larger techniques
de
for the
onkruidgroei
bigger
onder
surfaces,
controle houden.
and we can maintain the
En
areas also
als
with the
gezegd,
smaller
er is
techniques.
nog steeds discussie over het
As said
gebruik
before, there's still a
van
discussion going on
sportvelden of gebruik van
about the
bestrijdingsmiddelen op
use
sportvelden.
of pesticides
Daar wordt
for sports
ook
fields.
wel behoorlijk wat reductie bereikt.
We've seen
Daar zijn
that
we
the
nog niet
results are quite good now.
Dat is wel voor
Those
de
sports fields
kunstgrasvelden, waar
are
merkwaardig
not
genoeg
being managed
ook
with too many
bestrijdingsmiddelen
pesticides any
worden
longer,
gebruikt als
but
voor
we're
de
still trying to look for
kunstgrasvelden.
alternatives to maintain
Hier
those
ben ik zelf niet
green
bij het
fields.
onderzoek betrokken, maar ik kan wel
I'm
mensen
not
meer informatie geven.
directly linked to
Kan ik
this
kan ik
research,
wel linkjes naar
but
publicaties
of course,
delen.
if you want more information, I can
Dan
share some of the
denk ik dat
articles.
ik bij het eind van de
And I think
presentatie ben
I've come to
gekomen.
the end of my presentation.
Dus ja, dank voor je
Thank you
aandacht.
very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Spiker, for presenting us the practical solutions for maintaining public surfaces in our municipalities without the use of pesticides, and for presenting us the results and the benefits municipalities have by phasing out pesticides, and especially for comparing and giving us the example of the difference of the streets without the plants and the one with beautiful greenery, with beautiful flowers, with people enjoying the nature in the city centers. So yeah, we don't see many people sitting in the empty streets, but we do see children and the elderlies and other people enjoying green parts of the cities. And I'm sure that we all agree that the dandelions are not the weed and that the greenery contributes to the quality of our lives. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Before we continue to questions and answers, I would like to share with you a cute short video produced by an NGO, Adalia 208. 2.0 that gives us a short preview of the town transitioning to pesticide-free maintenance. Feel free to use it and to inspire other municipalities. Thank you.
Cody, est-ce que tu peux m'expliquer ce que tu es en train de faire?
Oui, là je pulvérise. Regarde.
C'est interdit de pulvériser, Cody.
Comment ça?
Fini.
Tu déconnes?
Est-ce que j'ai l'air de déconner?
Non.
C'est terminé. On ne pulvérise plus des produits chimiques sur les espaces publics depuis le 1er juin.
Alors quoi? Fini pour les trottoirs, les bords de route et les parcs?
C'est fini.
Et ma belle-mère?
Alors pour ta belle-mère, on peut éventuellement s'arranger. En attendant, utilise ceci, une binette.
Pour la belle-mère?
Mais non, pour jardiner, Cody. Dis, ce que je te propose, Cody, c'est que j'aille à la rencontre d'une personne de chez Adalia qui va nous donner des petits conseils pour entretenir notre trottoir sans produits chimiques.
Et moi je vais aller me renseigner parce qu'apparemment certaines communes ont déjà pris des initiatives.
Ok, on va bosser.
Allez, j'y vais. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
J'ai une petite question. Est-ce que vous pouvez m'expliquer comment vous avez fait pour vous passer des pesticides dans votre commune?
On a toujours été relativement nature et le fait de passer à 0 pesticide, ça a été plus ou moins naturel. Et d'autant plus qu'on s'est rendu compte qu'en fait, quand ils pulvérisaient les cimetières, finalement, ils étaient dans un nuage de fumée et c'était inadmissible. Et on a relativement vite pris conscience qu'il fallait arrêter.
Et quelles ont été les réactions?
C'est vrai que c'est pas toujours facile, c'est vrai qu'on a toujours des gens qui rouspètent et qui ne comprennent pas, qui trouvent pas ça propre ou pas suffisamment entretenu. Mais en discutant, en allant voir avec eux le cimetière, en expliquant vraiment notre démarche, ils finissent par accepter.
Et justement, pourquoi c'est important?
Pour diminuer la quantité de poison finalement et de pesticides, à quoi ça sert absolument de vouloir avoir tout net, tout propre? C'est tellement plus beau quand c'est naturel et finalement tout le monde est content. Et la nature aussi, et les abeilles aussi.
Eh bien si les abeilles sont contentes, moi aussi.
Salut Thibaut.
Salut, bonjour.
Alors, il faut que j'entretienne mon trottoir.
Ouais.
C'est un espace public. Je ne peux plus utiliser de produits chimiques.
Tout à fait.
Comment je peux faire?
Alors pour le trottoir, en fait, il existe plusieurs alternatives. Donc tout d'abord, tu as la binette.
Ouais.
Donc ça, c'est un peu d'huile de coude et ça permet d'entretenir son trottoir de manière écologique et d'avoir un résultat sympa. Parce que tu auras tout le temps la racine avec une binette. Tu peux aussi utiliser de l'eau chaude. Donc l'eau chaude des pommes de terre, par exemple, que tu mets 4, 5, 6 fois par an. Et alors, au bout de 7-8 passages, l'herbe va disparaître. Alors, on vend des petits désherbeurs thermiques aussi. Où donc là aussi, il faut passer 5 à 6 fois par an. Tu peux aussi enherber tes graviers. Si tu as des graviers, tu les enherbes. Comme ça, tu ne désherbes plus, tu tombes.
Alors Thibaut, est-ce que je peux utiliser le sel et le vinaigre?
Non, c'est interdit chez nous donc en Wallonie parce que donc, ça acidifie le sol, ça a des impacts comme les produits phytos sur l'environnement, sur la faune et la flore.
Ben voilà.
Bonne nouvelle, hein?
Mais à fond. Et si c'est possible dans les espaces publics?
C'est possible chez vous.
Tu viens au jardin?
Barbecue?
Barbecue.
Thank you, Angela, for sharing the video. So we have very few minutes left. So I will now read the question that we received during the webinar. So since Mr. Spiker is the only speaker left, so the question, I will read it to you. So the question is, what climate-friendly, meaning avoiding weed burners, etc., methods for weed control for hard surfaces like pavement, car parks, roads, etc., is used in pesticide-free towns like Leuven. This can allow for greater visual tolerance of weeds, but bearing in mind the structural damage that can occur if left in situ, and allergenic plants causing public health problems like asthma, etc. So, Mr. Spijker, would you care to answer? Thank you.
Ja, dat is inderdaad een interessant probleem.
That's a very interesting issue, of course.
Als je zeg maar dus de niet-chemische onkruidbestrijding
non-chemical
energie.
Pesticides
Of het nou
require
branden,
energy.
borstelen of heet water
For
is.
example, brushing or with flames or
Die
heat,
gebruikt wordt, dat
it requires energy.
Op de CO2-uitstoot.
And of course, this energy also creates a
van
CO2
belang
emission. And therefore, it's very important in the city
het ontwerp van de stad eigenlijk aan te passen zodanig
adapt
dat er op zo
the
weinig
urban
mogelijk plekken
planning to make sure
verharding ongewenste onkruidgroei kan optreden.
as
En dat
few
kan door
weeds
de
as possible
verhardingen
grow
logisch
on these
aan te leggen.
hardened soil.
Ik liet een voorbeeld zien van
I
die
showed
wijk
you an
in
example
Almere,
before
waardoor
of
je
the
eigenlijk in plaats van stoep
city of Almere,
grasroken krijgt en wat smallere verhardingen.
where
Dus dat is een goede
you
manier
have
om dat
pavements with smaller parts of green area as well.
Wat je ook moet bedenken, dat stel dat je nog zo gebruik zou maken van bestrijdingsmiddelen,
would still
dat is op het
use
niveau van de gemeente
pesticides,
kan het wat efficiënter zijn. Dat
then you can use them more efficiently
alleen die
on the town level.
bestrijdingsmiddelen die worden weer geproduceerd.
Those pesticides are of
en bij de
course
productie daarvan
produced, and during production
heeft een groot klimaateffect.
CO2 is emitted, and it has a climate impact as well.
Levenscyclusanalyse gemaakt waarbij
So
we
I did a life cycle analysis
hebben
and compared a few methods with each other.
van thermische en mechanische
For example,
onkruidbestrijding.
thermical
is branden.
and
En dan bleken die verschillen niet zo heel groot te zijn. Maar de grootste winst op het vlak van klimaat
techniques, and the differences weren't that big.
Dat zo in te richten dat je
So
maar
very important is to work in a preventive way to make sure that you plan the area beforehand, before constructing it. And of course, you also need to work with very modern machines to make sure that the CO2 emissions are also reduced.
Dat die minder zijn. En daar is ook nog een hele slag in te maken.
Of course, there's a lot still needs to be changed on that level as well.
Even de deur dicht doen. Ik heb hier wat last van.
And sorry, I have to close my door because there's people coming in.
Ik hoop dat dit een antwoord
I hope this was an answer to the question.
Yes, thank you. And I have one more quick question, if you can stay for a minute or two. Actually, it was a question from Mr. David Desource, but I will read it. So I congratulate you, David Desource. As I understand, pesticides are applied in sports fields. Is it true? Also, do the farmers who receive training get organic farming certificates? For what I remember from the presentation, it is true their pesticides are still used, but it is the town is working on phasing out too, and the organic farmers are receiving education, but I don't recall about certificates. And another question, could this be a solution suggestion for sports fields? Unwanted weeds are removed by removing the infected grass area and replaced with carpet grass. So please, Mr. Spijker, if you can answer this.
Die laatste vraag. Hè, dus,
well, the last question.
Als het gaat om vervangen.
Replacing
door stukken
the grass by synthetic grass.
Je ziet in Nederland
dus in the Netherlands,
een groter aandeel sportvelden in kunstgras wordt gelegd.
More and more of those sports fields are being installed with synthetic grass. And actually, I have to say that I think that's a bit of a shame, because the synthetic grass doesn't contribute to
de biodiversiteit. Nou is biodiversiteit op een
to the fight against climate change.
Vrij beperkt. Als je daar wat wil bereiken, dan kan je op
And
sportcomplexen,
I think
dus
on those
met
sports
name de
fields,
terreinen tussen de velden, die kan je heel mooi en
you
bloemrijk inrichten. Er zijn best wel mogelijkheden, ook bij de
have a
keuze
lot of
van
possibilities
struiken die
when
je
you
als
choose,
afscherming
for
hebt
example,
staan.
shreds
Daar kun je zo'n
or
keuze
other
maken. Dat het struiken zijn die ook
plants
leefgebied vormen voor veel andere soorten. Maar
creating habitats for
bij
insects as well.
kunstgras is het een beetje
With
ingewikkelder. Als je zeg
synthetic
maar
grass, it's a bit
in
more
het klimaat
complicated.
van Nederland en Vlaanderen,
In,
als je kiest voor hele intensieve
if you
bespeling,
choose,
dan is kunstgras haast een noodzaak.
sorry,
Als
the
je zeg
interpreters
maar
having
wat
difficulties because the
beperktere
sound of the speaker is quite
gebruik
bad in
hebt,
quality.
dan kan je
Apologies.
met natuurgrasvelden kan je op zich zeg maar de speeldruk goed aan. Dus dat is vaak de reden dat
So the reason why some clubs actually choose for synthetic grass is that the pressure on the grass is quite high during games, and
dat betekent
it
dat
requires
overblijvende
less
sportvelden
maintenance.
soms geheel, althans het bereik van de plekken waar echt gesport wordt, in kunstgras worden
And in some
aangelegd.
cases, indeed,
vind dat,
synthetic grass is
eigenlijk
chosen
jammer,
over
omdat dat
regular
dat
grass,
niet meer
and this is a
behoort
shame
tot de groene ruimte.
because
Alleen
then
als je
the
geen andere
area is no
keuze
longer
hebt,
considered
dan
as
moet dat
green
gewoon
space.
niet, zoals ik de vraag begreep, dat je als er ergens op een bepaalde plek een specifiek probleem is dat je bij wijze van spreken een combinatie
If you
gaat
have a
krijgen van
specific problem on a location, then you could use
een
a
stukje kunstgras
combination
maken en de
of
rest
grass,
natuurgras. Wat je wel ziet,
synthetic
is
grass,
dat
and natural grass.
dat is een vrij duur beheersysteem. Dat zie je dus zeg maar op de velden van de professionele voetbalclubs. Dat ze daar weer meer naar natuurgras gaan, maar dat ze vaak wel een vorm
On professional football plays,
en als je naar die
football
natuurgrasvelden
areas or
kijkt,
football
dan
fields,
is
they
de
actually
duurzaamheid nog
prefer to
heel veel
have
te winnen, want je ziet dat daar
regular
heel
grass.
veel gebruik wordt gemaakt van kunstlicht om het te laten groeien.
And they also use artificial light to let
valt nog wat
the
heel veel
grass
aan te
grow.
merken, maar dat zijn natuurlijk maar in oppervlakte kleine terreinen. Ik hoop dat dit een beetje
But
een
compared
antwoord
to
op de vraag
the
is.
public spaces, the area, the surface, of course, is very limited. I hope this was an answer to your question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Spijker. And we are now at the end of the webinar. I hope it was useful for you and that this webinar inspired you to take actions and to spread the information about this important project. So I want to thank our guests, Mr. Job Spijkers from Wageningen University and Mr. David Desource, the alderman of Leuven, for their useful presentation and for sharing the solution for non-harmful maintenance of cities' public spaces. I'm sure that today's webinar will be inspiration for our viewers to support the transition of municipalities towards sustainable and safe maintenance of public spaces toward pesticide-free towns. On behalf of Buğday Association and Pesticide Action Network Europe, I thank you all for participation in this webinar, and I hope to see you soon in some other webinar, and I wish you all a nice day. Thank you for joining us.
Tot ziens. Dank u wel. And when there
Thank you very much.
When there are still questions, then please send me an email. Yeah. Bye-bye.